Welcome to the Italian Riviera. So I spent 3 days exploring this region. Day 1 was Santa Margherita Ligure, Day 2 in Cinque Terre, and Day 3 Portofino. Now this place is the epitome of luxury. Expensive shops, expensive real estate, expensive yachts, just expensive taste. Now unlike most of the visitors, I wasn't here on a luxury budget. I had just a budget. But I still wanted to explore this region and see everything that it has to offer. So come with me and let's explore 3 days in one of the most beautiful and expensive places in the world. And let's see what these 3 Italian coastline towns have to offer. And whilst I'm recording this, I can see that I need to change t-shirt. So let's start the video and I'll change t-shirt. New t-shirt, there's no stain. So if you saw my last video, which I know you didn't. No one saw that video. But if you did, then you would know that it rained when I got to Santa Margherita Ligure. So we'll just skip ahead. This wasn't very exciting. I won't count this day. This was just arriving there. So let's skip to day 2 when it was actually sunny outside and I could explore Santa Margherita Ligure. Now one of the main things that I wanted to do in this town was do a coastal walk that takes you from this town to the next. But before that, I wanted to explore some of the local history. Now, one of the first historic monuments that I walked past was this castle, and it immediately caught my eye because there was an English flag there. But it turns out this is actually the flag of Genoa. See, Santa Margherita is part of the historic Republic of Genoa, and the St. George's Cross has been the symbol of Genoa for almost 900 years. And England actually adopted the same St. George's Cross centuries ago for its ships, which is why the two flags look identical today. I also saw the flag of Genoa a bunch of times in the town of Sestri Levante. If you haven't watched that vlog, be sure to check it out. I then saw this church, which is called and I'm going to nail this pronunciation, the Chiesa di San Giacomo di Corte. Was that good? Now this church looked beautiful, so I had to go up and have a look. And as I was going up, I got distracted because I saw a lizard on the stairs. And then instead of looking at the beautiful church, I thought, hey, I'll just film an animal documentary.
Here we have the lizard. The lizard that lives on the church stairs. It is green, and it spends its day probably looking for flies and ants. I don't know much about it. Welcome to Church Planet.
Now look, I was about to go on a long walk, so I needed some carbs to fuel me up before the coastal walk that I was talking about. So before going into a bakery, I got distracted and bought a book. I don't know why. I don't like reading. I don't know. You know when you're on holiday and you're like, I'm going to become a better person. I'm going to read in the evenings. No, you're not. You're going to watch Kung Fu Panda in the evenings. But I bought The Great Gatsby. And then after that, it was time to fuel up on carbs. So I went into an Italian bakery and they have a ton of options. There were, all of these different focaccias and pizza-looking things and a bunch of stuff. Some pies or quiches or whatever it was. And I bought some, and they were pretty good. So now that my body had ingested a bunch of calories, it was time to make my way along the promenade and see what you can see in the sea of this Italian coastline. Now this was quite a long walk, but it was really beautiful. You start off at the harbor and then make your way along the coastline, and it's just gorgeous. And the houses, they are stunning. And I didn't start reading The Great Gatsby until later on, but there were quite a lot of similarities to the book already, just, from walking there. Let me read some stuff. Their house was even more elaborate than I expected. A cheerful red, a Georgian colonial mansion overlooking the bay. And the similarities in this book, they continued, including in its sweep, a sunken Italian garden. Now you don't have to walk this promenade, you can just, rent a charter or something, but to quote the book, I'm too poor. So I'm not taking a charter. Plus it was quite windy that day, so I don't even know if the charters were going. So instead, I did just do the walk.
Genuine question. How did they get that down there? The whole thing is just a drop. If anyone knows, let me know in the comments, because I'm trying to figure it out. Did it swim here?
So even though it was windy, I just walked and enjoyed the views and listened to the sounds of the waves crashing. And yeah, basically burnt like 1 billion calories. Actually, it wasn't that long of a walk. It's a nice walk though. When you stop and take photos every 3 seconds because you're filming a vlog, then it takes longer than it's supposed to take. But it was a nice, charming walk. But honestly, there's not like too much to see because it's just ocean. But it is very pretty. By the way, a quick thing to mention is there's a bunch of where you rent a chair? There's a bunch of that there. Beach clubs. There's a bunch of beach clubs. So you can rent for like the day or hours, stuff like that. As it was so windy that day, there weren't that many people actually, staying at the clubs, but still a thing worth mentioning. So after that walk, it was now time for dinner, and I wanted to try another authentic Italian meal, so it was time for some curry. That's obviously a joke. It's mainly bread, and that's about it. So it was time for focaccia. I am being sarcastic when I say there's only focaccia. There's a bunch of different stuff, and it'll look very, very nice. But there's kind of two main categories, I would say, of food in Santa Margherita Ligure, at least. You're kind of looking at the bread-based stuff, or like the quiches and the pastries, or you can go the homemade pasta route. Both obviously sounded delicious, both looked delicious, but I saw this basil focaccia and it caught my eye and then caught my teeth. That's not a saying. We have this basil tomato pizza. That's delicious. Now to quote the Great Gatsby again, most of the time I worked, which means my daily step count average is like 50 steps. So I convinced myself that not only did I deserve pizza that night, I also deserved dessert. So I went out to get hot chocolate, and what are Italians doing with hot chocolate? What is this? I think I don't understand. It's just like, it's just chocolate. Like the whole thing is just chocolate. And there's not a lot of, the milk is separate. I don't understand what's happening. I thought I'd just get like a normal hot chocolate. It was really weird. Let me know in the comments if this is normal for the rest of the world, because maybe I've just missed this. It was delicious, don't get me wrong. I just expected a liquid, not a solid. I've never eaten hot chocolate before. Good morning, it's day 2. And day 2, I took the train to Cinque Terre. Now, this is a bunch of towns, 5 to be specific, hence cinque, which is 5 in Italian.
Cinque.
I'll be pronouncing it wrong for the rest of the video. Now, if you're wondering, oh, I might go here because it's like a hidden gem, it's not a hidden gem. Every single person knows about this place. 20-year-old somethings want to go here because it's popular on Instagram. Old people want to go here to fish or something. And kids want to go here because of the film Luca. Every single person knows about this place. It is not a hidden gem. And depending on when you go, you'll very much realize how you are not alone in the idea of wanting to go to Cinque Terre. It is so busy, or at least it was when I visited. It was packed. Now, just because it was busy for me, don't let that stop you from going. Obviously, it depends on the time of year and a bunch of different factors. I was there during summer, which means it's going to be pretty busy. And if you are considering going, make sure you watch the rest of this video, as I'll go through the different towns that I went to, as they are all kind of different. And yes, that is me trying to trick you into increasing my retention for the video. So the first one that I went to was Monte Rosso, I think, and this one was really cute. I really liked this one. But the second I stepped off the train, I didn't want to see anything until I had eaten. So I stopped at, I think, the first bakery that I saw. This wasn't really a bakery, this was more like a cafe, and it was perfectly placed hanging over the beach, so you had these gorgeous views and, hopefully, some gorgeous food.
Not bad views for a cafe. We're still confused about how ordering works. Half the time it's like sit down, half the time it's buy like a ticket, and then you go up to where they actually have the pastry. You give them your ticket. It's kind of weird. Alright, so we got pizza, we got a chocolate croissant, pesto, mozzarella focaccia, cappuccino, and the views are not bad.
I know, pizza for breakfast. Who is this guy? He's crazy. The pizza was fine, there's nothing to talk about there. But the focaccia, this is where things changed. This focaccia was just breathtaking. Quite literally, you can't breathe whilst you're eating. It was absolutely delicious.
That's delicious.
And to quote the Great Gatsby, this is a nice restaurant here.
This is probably the best thing I've had in Italy so far. The pesto is incredible. If I'm not wrong, I think pesto was invented in this region.
That's not true. It was invented an hour away in Genoa.
The bread is like super, like crispy and delicious and super salty. The cheese, it's just phenomenal.
And if pizza and focaccia isn't enough for breakfast, I then add a chocolate croissant.
Alright, lastly we have this croissant here. It's a chocolate croissant. It looks phenomenal. Now, I've been let down in the past with croissants in Italy. France obviously nailed it, but Italy has let me down, so I'm a bit worried. but it looks phenomenal.
I was absolutely flabbergasted with this croissant. It was amazing.
Oh my god.
If you haven't checked out my I ate every pastry in France video, check that out because I ate quite a bit of croissants in France. But honestly, this might have been better than the croissants that I had in France.
One of the best croissants I've had so far. That is incredible.
So Monterosso is the largest of the villages, and I was there reasonably early, so I did feel like it was the least busy of all the different towns. Now, from my experience, there's not like too much to do. The main activity is, you know, walking around and just kind of looking. I feel like if you have a larger budget, you could probably experience the fancy restaurants and, you know, maybe do a boat charter and all of that stuff. Because I did kind of look at that stuff and get jealous. And there's also like, you know, fancy Airbnbs and stuff that have gorgeous views there. But for the 99% of people who are just visiting for the day, you are mainly walking around and looking and taking a lot of photos. If you ignore though all of the crowds, it is a really beautiful town. The pastel colored houses and just like the really cute streets. I mean, it's I think Lucca was based off this town or one of these towns, and if you've seen that movie, I mean it really does actually look like that. So the design of the towns in Lucca is pretty accurate, but because it's so famous, you know, there's non-stop loud sounds, and you can't silencio Bruno the crowds. So when I got home that night, I just had like a hangover from audio and visual stimulant the whole day. Like it's a lot. The next town I went to was Rio Maggiore, I think it's pronounced. This is the southernmost village of the Cinque Terre, and typically it's the first one that you reach. I visited the towns in a weird order just to try to avoid crowds, but also because I got off on the wrong train stop a few times. Now this village is built almost straight up a hillside, so be ready to do a lot of up and downhill walking. So this is like a very small harbor with fishing boats, and it's one of the most photographed locations in Italy. And apparently it's got an amazing sunset view, but I was there during the middle of the day. Again, it was really beautiful here, but again, it was very busy. You just spend a lot of time walking with crowds and, you know, on the train with crowds and sitting with crowds and crowds. But even though it was busy, I wanted to eat something, and I found this gelato place, and we were lucky enough to get the literal only seats. There was 2 seats at this gelato place, and we were lucky enough to get those seats, and they were probably the best seats of any gelato cafe ever in the world. Like, they were overlooking this, you know, Mediterranean Sea, and with this world famous view that everyone knows.
Alright, here we have a pistachio flavored gelato in Cinque Terre. Let's see if it's any good, and the view is not so bad.
And because of this, I actually had incredibly low expectations for this gelato, because, you know, it's such a touristy town. Why would they even need to do good ice cream? Like, you're going to visit this place once and then forget that you ever even ate that. But either way, that gelato was incredible.
That is absolutely incredible. I could genuinely be the best gelato I've ever had in my life. 10 out of 10.
After that was the next town, which was Vernazza, I think it's pronounced, and it was really charming, to be honest. Very, very beautiful. Similar look to, you know, all the towns look quite similar, to be honest, but it was really pretty. One thing that I really considered when making this video is, do I just show the like romanticized version that 99% of people are posting, hence everyone ends up going to Cinque Terre? I didn't want to make a hate video or anything like that, but if I show these shots of the town that look, you know, really stunning and beautiful and picturesque, but I do think I should also show the other side of these towns, which is the crowds.
So this is the busiest one by far.
And then we took the train to the 4th town, and it was just, I mean, packed. We didn't stay here long. It was so busy. I know there's 5 towns. We couldn't do 5. After those 4, I was exhausted. Good morning, old sport. That's a quote from the book. Day 3, it's now time to explore Portofino. I'll be honest, Portofino wasn't too high up on my list for the Italian Riviera, but we'll take a look, he said doubtfully. Just a look. So I started the day in Portofino with an Italian coffee. I don't know if you know this, but Portofino is like quite a luxurious place, meaning the prices are also quite luxurious, so I just got focaccia with some olives on it and went down and sat by the harbour. The focaccia was fine, it was pretty simple, but as I ate, I noticed this duck staring at me. I'd seen him wandering hungrily about the beach that morning, so I tried to feed him some olive, because I know ducks can eat olives, but he didn't want any. I guess even the ducks in Portofino are used to a certain elegance with their food. So I sat there for a bit, enjoying the very tiny harbour. It's not a very large one. And at that point, the winds really started picking up.
Now, I don't go to fancy shopping stores, so it will be kind of interesting to go into some luxury stores. I don't know many of them, to be honest. I recognize Louis Vuitton. I recognize Dior. That's about all I know. I don't know much about clothes. This town has every single luxury clothing store in it, and I don't understand why, because it is the smallest town I've ever been to.
So this town is very small. It's only got about 400 to 500 residents, but hundreds of thousands of people visit there every single year. So you might be wondering, hey, why is it such a luxury hotspot? And basically, in the 1950s to 60s, Portofino became the place to visit if you're a celebrity. So European royals went there, Marilyn Monroe and a bunch of other people, and they kind of turned this tiny fishing village into like a symbol of glamour and like the place to visit. And then once, these wealthy travelers started visiting,
Every person is rich and wearing fancy clothes.
then the brands started showing up there as well. So, Portofino became the place to dock your super yacht and stay in luxury hotels and dine at these really high-end restaurants. But which I wasn't doing. That wasn't in my budget, if you haven't noticed that yet from this video. But yeah, because of that, the town is marketing to super wealthy people trying to live that glamorous lifestyle. And then I showed up and they're like, why are you feeding this duck? Can you leave? Now, after walking around a bit, I got hungry and thought it was time for some pizza. So we went to a restaurant and we shared a pizza, because again, Portofino prices. But I can tell you that pizza was absolutely delicious. I had a phenomenal time. I've had margarita pizza many, many times, but that one was something special. Very much enjoyed that, as you can probably tell from this footage here. And was I slightly embarrassed that I was easily the worst dressed in this town and filming this slow motion footage of me eating a pizza? Yes I was. But I tried to ignore it. And over the past few days of exploring Italy's coastline, the fancy yachts, the fancy cars, fancy clothes and fancy 3-course meals, they did make me slightly jealous, I won't lie, but that feeling was about to change.
Alright, so Portofino doesn't have too much stuff to do. If you like fancy food, they've got that here. And if you like fancy stores, then they've got that as well. Quite a few of them. But in terms of just attractions, there's not too much stuff to do. So right now, we are doing a hike. It's not a super long walk. Portofino is very small. There's also this, which I will tell you about in the voiceover.
See, after pizza, we walked up to this church, which is called the Chiesa di San Giorgio. Again, sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. And this is one of Portofino's most iconic sites, sitting high up with this panoramic view over the harbour and the gorgeous coastline. But it started to get even more windy, very, very windy. So I took a few photos, but I didn't stay that long.
It is really windy! Alright, now that we've checked out this building, it is time to look at the lighthouse.
Now, in The Great Gatsby, they talk about this thing called the green light. The idea is that money can buy you happiness.
Alright, we're now going to continue the walk to Faro di Portofino.
And so, involuntarily, I glanced seaward and distinguished nothing except a single green light. Finally, we reached the house, drifting up on the side in bright vines. And so it happened on that warm, windy evening. I had a realization. I should change the light. See, Gatsby was carried back into his past by his dream of luxury, chasing yachts, villas, and that green light. Now, reading over what I've written so far, I see that I've given the impression that the events of the 3 nights were all that absorbed me. On the contrary, they were merely casual events in a crowded summer. Now, my time in Santa Margherita Ligure, and Cinque Terre, and now Portofino weren't what I expected, but they made me realize I don't want to chase that green light anymore. It was a timely lesson. I came across this book by accident. I just happened to walk into that bookstore and pick up The Great Gatsby that day. It was a strange coincidence, I said, but it wasn't a coincidence at all.